So you're the one who always brings the best ribs or brisket or pulled pork to a summer party, a picnic, any sort of gathering like that. But wouldn't it be something if you surprised all those people who love your barbecue with an amazing dessert? Well, today I'm going to show you a simple way to make a terrific strawberry mascarpone pie. I don't like to limit myself to just barbecuing and grilling and smoking things. I've made lots of videos where I cook in the kitchen, and one of my favorite things to make are desserts. And this strawberry mascarpone pie is a winner. So first thing we got to do is get our pie crust ready. Now, you can make your own pie crust, but pro tip, coming from an amateur baker, use a pre-made pie dough. You could even get a pre-baked pie crust if you want, because really the thing that we're concentrating on here today is the filling. So let's get our pie crust going in my pie pan. And I've let this sit and kind of come to room temperature for about 20 minutes or so. So we're just gonna carefully unroll it. And if you get a few tears or something, it's not the end of the world. You can piece those back together. See right here, we're getting a little pull there. Just slowly unroll it. Just going to transfer this to a separate little cutting board for a minute so I can get my pie dish back in place. Now we're just going to carefully lay it in here. Just work it into all the little corners and everything, and just work all the edges so you kind of get into the design of your pie pan if there is one. You can stretch it a little bit, but not too much. Going to carefully go around the edge here, trim off any excess. Now I know some of you bakers out there might be looking at me going, he doesn't know what he's doing. Well, you're pretty much right. I've baked quite a few pies, but I'm not an expert. Got a few little holes here. I just want to patch on the edge. Now, if this was a homemade dough that I was using, I would probably fill this with foil and some pie weights or beans, but because this is one of those commercial pre-made doughs, I've found that they don't tend to slump when you blind bake them, because that's what we're doing here. We're going to blind bake this, which basically just means take the empty pie crust, bake it for a certain amount of time in the oven so it crisps up and it can hold our chilled filling. And then I just want to take a fork and punch some holes in the bottom. It's called docking. And really this is just to help release any steam and moisture as this bakes. Trying to avoid bubbles in the bottom. And again, that's another reason that you might want to use foil or parchment paper here with some pie weights, or I actually use dried beans. But in this sort of dough, a prepared one from the store, usually you don't have too many problems with that. At least I don't. One little check on the corners here and the edges. All right, I'm gonna pop this in my preheated 450 degree ovens for, I don't know, 10 or 12 minutes till it's golden brown. And when that's done, you'll see it right back here. Here's our pie crust, not looking too bad, fresh out of the oven. Little bit of bubbling over here, a little bit of shrinkage and slumping, but not too bad. Again, if you want to, you can do this with some foil or some parchment paper in it, some pie weights or beans. It's a very easy way to do it and keeps it from really shrinking and slumping anymore. And with homemade pie dough, I find that that is really necessary because you have a lot more fat content when you make that with your own butter, and you have a lot of butter in that crust, and usually it's a little bit thicker when you roll it out, which is great. It tastes fantastic, but this is an easier method. And now this is gonna go and it's gonna sit and it's gonna cool down to room temperature, and we're gonna move on to making our other components. So on the base of our pie crust, before we put in the strawberry filling, we're gonna have a thin layer of mascarpone, but it's not just gonna be plain mascarpone cheese. We're gonna add something to it. So I'm starting with 8 ounces of mascarpone cheese, and to this I'm gonna add 3 ounces of a fig spread. Now, you can use any sort of jam or jelly that you like here. This is a sort of a fig jam, and I really like it. So it's really about the flavors you want. I'm just gonna mix this together here. Really wanna get that fig spread or whatever jam or jelly you're using incorporated into the mascarpone. you don't have just plain white lumps of mascarpone like you might see right here. And get all those flavors in there. That's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm gonna cover this, put it in the refrigerator, and we're gonna move on to our strawberries. So here I have 8 cups of strawberries. Now you need to hull these. If you've never done this before, it's basically removing this greenery and the little sort of structure underneath it. Several ways to do it. You can do it with a knife, go around it, cut it out. You can use a straw if you're not worried about presentation. Let's say you're going to be using these in some sort of jam or in a puree, and I'm going to be using some of them in a puree here. You can just take a straw, go right at the bottom here, push up through, and that brings it out. But a lot of these are going to be used for presentation in the pie. You want the bottom to be whole because you want that to be seen. So I'm going to use a little spoon here. Just going to go around kind of like a knife and pull that top out. I'll do another one for you. Just like that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and finish hulling these and I'll bring you back as soon as I'm done. So here are the strawberries we're gonna be using for this pie. These are the presentation ones, the ones that are gonna go in the pie. These are the ones that are gonna be used to make our puree, which is going to be the base for our glaze. So let's go ahead and get these pureed up. I'm gonna be using my immersion blender today to puree these strawberries. So I've got a tall container here. I'm just gonna get the strawberries down in there. May have to do them in a couple batches. We'll see. Some more in there. There is our strawberry puree. Let's move over to the stove to make this glaze. So I have a medium saucepan here on the stove and it's not turned on right now. So I'm just gonna add first 3/4 cup of sugar. Next, I'm adding 3 tablespoons of cornstarch. And I want to mix these together in here before we get any liquid or any heat going. Next comes 1/2 cup of water and our strawberry puree mixture. I'm going to mix this all together here. Now we're going to turn the heat on and bring this to a boil. And while you're doing this, you have to stir constantly. And I've got my heat on medium, maybe a little bit closer to medium-low, but definitely not high. We're gonna keep stirring. All right, I've been stirring here for about 4 minutes over kind of low heat, and you can see how much thicker we're getting. So it is time to kill the heat on this. Really quickly before I take it off the heat, I'm gonna add the Zest of One Lemon. Mix that in. I'm gonna move this off the burner to a cold spot and let it sit until it comes to room temperature. All right, our glaze is cooled down to room temperature, our pie shell is completely cool, and it's time to start assembling this pie. We're gonna have a step at the end after it's chilled down where we add some maple whipped cream, but we need to get this together in this shell so it can chill down for a couple hours in the refrigerator first. First thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some of our mascarpone fig mixture in here. Just gonna get some in the bottom. See, our shell is moving around in our pie pan, which is good. That means it's not sticking. You want to be careful here because you don't want to break the pie shell. So we're just going to spread this gently. Might switch to a spatula in a minute. Just want to get a nice little coating on the bottom here. Something for our strawberries to rest on. My spatula here as I turn this. Want to get to where you're just starting to go up the edge of the pie. Just want this little bit of extra flavor in here. If it seems like some areas are a little too thick, just take it and move it to an area that needs some more. Now we're going to start bringing the star of the show in, our strawberries. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to place these in here. We might end up cutting some of these, but we want to get the whole ones in here first. So we have a nice looking pie. Some of these that have been sliced here, we're just gonna put around the edges, fill in a little bit. And really honestly, if you wanted to, you could just totally mix this with the glaze and dump it in. You wouldn't have to get this fancy, but got the time. Doesn't hurt. We'll just fill in some of these open spots here, just like that. Now it's time to add our glaze. So I'm just going to begin pouring this over our strawberries. We're going to let this work its way in between them. We'll help it if we need to. Get it around the edges here. And take your time here. I want to make sure that glaze really gets in there. All right, this is going to go in the refrigerator for 2 hours to completely chill down, and then we'll add our whipped cream to it. So our pie is almost chilled, and what I want to make now is some maple whipped cream that we're going to pipe on the top of it to finish it off, look nice, and taste great. So I'm starting with a pint of heavy cream in a bowl here. And to this, I'm going to add about a tablespoon of maple syrup. And I have my whisk attachment on my immersion blender, so let's make some whipped cream. That was about 4 or 5 minutes of whipping there, and let's see. Yeah, we got some nice stiff peaks on this whipped cream. All right, this is good. Let's get our pie out here, finish it off, and enjoy a slice. So here is our chilled strawberry mascarpone pie. And it is time to get some of that maple whipped cream on here. I went ahead and I filled a pastry bag with that. Let's see how we do. Now, I am not an expert at this, so we will just do our best here. Now for a non-baker, a non-pie maker, a non-pie decorator, I gotta say I'm pretty happy with this. That looks really good. And if I can do it, you can do it. So like I said at the beginning of this, if you're the person who always brings the brisket, the pork butt, and the ribs and everything to a barbecue or a party during the summer, step outside your comfort zone and make a pie that will just freak people out at how good it is and how good it looks. Now, let's cut a slice. So I've got this little like strawberry sticking in the center here like a shark fin. Let's get down in here. All right, let's see if we can get a slice out of here. Oh yeah, that looks good. Gotta say, I am extremely happy with this. And I'm also extremely happy to be able to say it's time to taste. All right, there's always that little bit of a dilemma, at least to me. When you eat pie, do you use a fork or a spoon? Well, I'm in team spoon because I don't want to miss any of this. I don't want anything falling through the cracks of the fork here, so let's dive in. Here we go. Well, that's really good. That crust is still firm, it is not soggy, and that mascarpone with the fig in it, really, really good addition to this. Got a little bit of whipped cream for this bite. Can I just be speechless here and eat? And as I said before, I'm not a baker, but I was able to make this. And really part of the fun of cooking, as I say often, is experimenting and pushing yourself, trying things. This is a strawberry pie, but it's also got that addition of the fig mascarpone spread at the bottom. And that's a really great addition. So if you don't think you can bake a pie to have an amazing dessert for a party, a picnic, or anything you're going to, go ahead and make the ribs and the brisket and the pork butt, and then give yourself a little bit of time and make this pie, and you will blow everybody's mind who tastes it.